You are destroying yourself, and you've given it beautiful names. You call it compassion. You call it dedication. You call it being there for people. But strip away the comforting labels, and what remains is something far more troubling. Self-destruction disguised as virtue. There exists a fundamental truth about human behavior that our society desperately tries to ignore. A truth that Niccolo Machiavelli understood with crystalline clarity 5 centuries ago when he counseled the powerful elite of Renaissance Italy. This truth has been buried beneath layers of modern morality, yet it remains as relevant today as it was in the corridors of Florentine power. Here it is, unvarnished. Not every person can be rescued, and more crucially, not every person desires rescue. Walk through this world with open eyes, and you'll encounter them. Individuals who aren't searching for assistance to climb out of their circumstances. They're searching for an anchor. They're looking for someone to drag down into the depths alongside them. When you extend your hand, they won't use it to pull themselves up. Instead, they'll use your body as a flotation device, keeping themselves barely above water while you sink deeper into the darkness of their chaos. You recognize these people. They've crossed your path. Perhaps one is draining you at this very moment. The colleague perpetually engulfed in crisis, the romantic partner who extracts your vitality while demanding your infinite patience, the family member who consumes your resources, financial, emotional, temporal, and repays you with nothing but bitterness and blame. You attempt to repair them. You attempt to heal their wounds. You convince yourself that with sufficient love, sufficient sacrifice, sufficient persistence, transformation will occur. But Niccolo Machiavelli would observe you with unflinching eyes and deliver the merciless truth. A man who wishes to act entirely up to his professions of virtue soon meets with what destroys him among so much that is evil. Compassion without boundaries isn't noble. It's suicidal. It's a fatal vulnerability that predators, parasites, and the willfully helpless will exploit until you are nothing but an empty vessel. The surgical intervention your conscience needs today. I am going to perform radical surgery on your understanding of goodness. We're going to excise the infected tissue of unconditional kindness. We're going to examine 6 distinct archetypes of people you must never, under any circumstances, attempt to save. This isn't cruelty. This is survival strategy. This is about preserving your power so you can deploy it for those who genuinely merit it. If you are exhausted from being the person who sacrifices everything and receives only suffering in return, pay close attention. This may be the most critical wisdom you encounter in your lifetime. But I must warn you. Once you perceive human nature through this Machiavellian lens, you cannot retreat into the comfortable delusion of naive optimism. Understanding the savior complex. Before we identify these 6 dangerous archetypes, you must comprehend the mechanics of what I call the savior trap. Why do you do this? Why do you rush into burning structures when the person inside struck the match themselves? You've been conditioned to believe your value correlates directly with your usefulness to others. You've internalized the belief that goodness is measured by how much pain you can absorb on behalf of others. You've convinced yourself that establishing boundaries constitutes betrayal. Niccolo Machiavelli would identify this as strategic self-annihilation. In his world, and in the actual world we inhabit today, energy is finite. Power is finite. Time is finite. When you pour your limited resources into a bottomless void, you are not merely wasting them. You are actively financing the destruction of your own future. Consider a vessel at sea. It has limited capacity, limited provisions. If you allow everyone aboard, the diseased, the deranged, the saboteurs, the ship doesn't transform into a sanctuary. It sinks beneath the waves. Then everyone perishes, including the innocent, including you. To preserve the ship, you must be ruthless about who you permit on deck. This is what I call therapeutic darkness. The understanding that sometimes the most compassionate act is allowing someone to hit rock bottom. because the bottom is the only place where illusions shatter. The bottom is the only place where they're forced to either stand or remain fallen. When you rescue them prematurely, you rob them of their lesson. You interrupt the natural law of cause and effect. So who are they? Who are the ones you must release? Archetype 1. The Chaos Engineer. The first archetype is the individual perpetually shadowed by misfortune. Niccolo Machiavelli warned against association with the chronically unlucky, not from superstition but from careful observation. He recognized that some people aren't victims of circumstance, they're architects of their own catastrophes. You know this person intimately. Every conversation brings a fresh disaster. They've been terminated from their job, their vehicle has broken down, their partner has been unfaithful, their landlord has evicted them. It's an unending, exhausting cascade of calamity. Initially, your heart bleeds for them. You think, how can one person endure so much misfortune? You intervene. You lend them money. You offer guidance. You connect them with opportunities. And for a brief period, a week, perhaps a month, things appear stable. But then the chaos returns with a vengeance. The employment opportunity you secured for them, lost because the supervisor had it out for them. The money you loaned, vanished, consumed by yet another emergency that materialized from nowhere. Listen carefully. Bad luck is contagious. This isn't mysticism. This is psychology. The chronically unfortunate lack judgment, discipline, and self-awareness. They make impulsive choices. They ignore warning signs. They antagonize people. They're mentally lazy and behaviorally careless. But here is the trap. They never accept responsibility. The world is always doing things to them. It's always external forces, bad luck, unfair circumstances, never their choices. If you attempt to save the chaos engineer, you invite their chaos into your existence. You'll become collateral damage in their perpetual crisis. Niccolo Machiavelli understood that human fortunes are interconnected. When you tie your vessel to a sinking ship, physics doesn't care about your noble intentions. You descend with them into the depths. I've witnessed brilliant individuals, men and women of exceptional capability, lose their reputations, their savings, and their sanity because they attempted to stabilize a person addicted to instability. You cannot repair someone who loves the drama of their own destruction. Why do they persist in this pattern? Because chaos generates attention. Chaos absolves them of the obligation to work. If they are perpetually the victim, they never have to become the victor. Stop attempting to be their shelter from the storm. Step back. Let the rain fall upon them. Let them experience cold and wet, because only the cold will motivate them to construct their own shelter. If you continue shielding them, you are merely enabling their incompetence. And eventually, their misfortune will metastasize into your misfortune. Maintain distance. Protect your peace. The infection of chronic misfortune spreads through contact. Quarantine yourself from the chaos engineer. Number 2. The bottomless void. The second archetype is perhaps the most emotionally devastating to encounter. This is the person who demands your assistance, consumes your assistance, and then develops resentment toward you because of it. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote extensively about the fickle nature of gratitude. He observed, "Men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. The ungrateful person suffers from a deep, malignant wound of entitlement. They don't perceive your kindness as a gift. They perceive it as a debt you owe them. Observe the pattern carefully. The first time you help them, they're effusive with gratitude. 'Thank you. You saved my life. I don't know what I would have done without you.' You feel good. You feel purposeful. The hook is set. The second time, they ask with less hesitation. You help again. They express thanks, but it's briefer, with less eye contact. The third time, they don't ask, they expect, and if you delay, if you hesitate, they become irritated, they make passive-aggressive comments. I thought friends helped each other. This is the bottomless void. Nothing you contribute will ever be sufficient to fill the emptiness inside them, because the emptiness isn't a lack of resources, it's a lack of character. When you help someone like this, you establish a dangerous dynamic. You become the provider, and they become the dependent, and human beings, by their darker nature, develop contempt for those they depend upon. Dependence breeds resentment. Deep in their psyche, they hate you because your strength reminds them of their weakness. Your generosity highlights their inability to provide for themselves. So they consume your money, they consume your time, and they secretly prepare to betray you. Have you noticed that the people you've helped most substantially are often the ones who speak most negatively about you when you are absent? This is why Niccolò Machiavelli advises that if you must help, do it in a manner that doesn't create ongoing dependence. Or better yet, don't help at all if you detect the rot of entitlement. How do you identify them? Test them. Decline a small request. The reaction to no reveals everything about a person's character. A healthy individual respects your boundary. The bottomless void will react with anger, guilt manipulation, or sudden coldness. They'll attempt to punish you for closing the tap. If you observe this reaction, don't walk away. Run. You cannot save someone who believes the universe owes them sustenance. You will pour your life force into them, and they will look at you with vacant eyes and ask, "Is that all?" Do not cast your pearls before swine. They will trample them underfoot and then turn to tear you apart. Archetype 3. The smiling saboteur. Now we descend into darker psychological territory. The first two archetypes drain you through incompetence or entitlement. This third archetype drains you through deliberate malice. Niccolò Machiavelli knew that envy is the most destructive force in any court, any enterprise, any circle of relationships. The smiling saboteur is often the person closest to you. They're the friend who's been present since the beginning. They're the peer who started at the same level as you, but then you evolved, you succeeded, you improved, and they remained stagnant. They cannot tolerate it. But they're intelligent. They don't attack you openly. Open enemies are manageable. You can see their weapons. The smiling saboteur conceals their dagger behind a grin. They want to save you from your own ambition. Listen to how they respond when you share positive news. I received the promotion. Oh, really? That's wonderful. But aren't the hours brutal? You are going to burn yourself out. I am just concerned about you. I met someone incredible. Nice. Just be cautious. You know how you get your hopes elevated. I don't want to see you hurt again. Do you hear it? The subtle poison. The counterfeit concern. They cloak their envy in the language of protection. They attempt to plant seeds of doubt in your mind. They want to lower your confidence so you descend back to their level. Niccolò Machiavelli warned, men are so simple and yield so readily to the desires of the moment that he who will trick will always find another who will suffer to be tricked. The envious person wants to save you from success because your success is a mirror reflecting their failure. If you attempt to bring them along, if you try to save them by elevating them to your level, they will, subconsciously or consciously, sabotage the journey. They'll create drama immediately before your important meeting. They'll provide terrible advice. They'll reveal your secrets to your competitors. They don't want you to win. You cannot save the envious. Envy is an incurable disease of the soul. It consumes the vessel that contains it. The only way to deal with the smiling saboteur is the law of concealment. Hide your victories, hide your joy, hide your plans. Niccolo Machiavelli advises silence. Don't provide them with the ammunition of your happiness. When you are around them, be bland, be boring, be struggling. How's business? Oh, you know, the grind. It's tough. Feed them the misery they crave and reserve your victories for those who genuinely wish you well. If you attempt to save them, if you try to repair their insecurity with your love, you are embracing a suicide bomber. They will destroy the bridge you are building just to watch you fall into the chasm. Never reveal your next move to them. Never reveal your true power. Unnecessary pause. Pause for a moment. Breathe deeply. I understand this is heavy. I understand faces are materializing in your mind right now. Names you haven't wanted to speak aloud. You feel the guilt rising. The voice in your head saying, "But they need me. But I am different. But I can transform them." Kill that voice. That voice isn't your conscience. That voice is your ego. It's your arrogance thinking you are powerful enough to rewrite human nature. You are not a deity. You are a human being with a limited battery. If you continue to plug yourself into these machines that run on pain, you will die spiritually, mentally, and eventually physically. Stress kills. Betrayal kills. We have 3 more archetypes to examine. And these next 3, these are the ones that manipulate your deepest vulnerabilities. These are the ones that leave the deepest scars. Prepare yourself. We're going deeper into the labyrinth. Archetype 4, the professional victim. We arrive now at the most deceptive creature in the dark forest of human psychology. This archetype doesn't approach you with aggression. They don't approach you with arrogance. They approach you on their knees. The professional victim. Niccolo Machiavelli understood power better than perhaps any thinker in history, and he recognized that power manifests in 2 forms, fear and sympathy. The tyrant uses fear, but the weak use sympathy. And sympathy is a drug that bypasses your logical brain and injects directly into your emotional center. You must understand this critical distinction. There are victims of circumstance, and then there are professional victims. A true victim wants to escape their pain. A professional victim wants to cultivate their pain. They farm it, they decorate it, they wear their trauma like a crown of thorns, demanding that you bow before their suffering. They weaponize their fragility. I can't do it because I am depressed. You are hurting me by asking me to take responsibility. The world is too harsh for someone as sensitive as me. If you attempt to save this person, you enter a game you cannot win. Because to save them would mean eliminating their identity. If they get better, they lose their excuse. If they get strong, they lose the attention that their weakness guarantees. So they will fight your solutions. You offer a ladder. They claim their arms are too fatigued. You offer a rope. They say it burns their hands. You offer to pull them up. They go limp, making themselves heavier, forcing you to carry their dead weight. Niccolo Machiavelli would warn you. He who builds his defense on the compassion of others builds his house on sand. But you, the savior, are building your house on a swamp. Every time you rescue them, you validate their helplessness. You teach them that being broken is a currency. You are paying them to remain sick. And here is the darkest part. The moment you stop, the moment you say, "I cannot carry you anymore," the lamb becomes a wolf. The professional victim will turn on you with a ferocity that will shock you. They will paint you as the villain. They will tell the world that you abandoned them. They will rewrite history to make your exhaustion appear like cruelty. They need a villain to complete their narrative. And by trying to be their hero, you have auditioned for the role of the villain when you inevitably fail to save them. Do not play this role. Compassion for a professional victim isn't love, it's masochism. It's a refusal to respect the dignity of their own agency. You must let them fall. You must let them face the void without your hand to hold, because only when the audience leaves does the actor stop performing. The arrogant fool archetype 5 is the enemy of wisdom, the enemy of growth, and, if you are not careful, the enemy of your sanity. The arrogant fool. This isn't merely someone who lacks intelligence. Ignorance can be remedied with knowledge. This is someone who refuses to know. This is someone who is in love with their own opinion, even when that opinion is destroying their life. Niccolo Machiavelli had a strict principle for princes. A prince who is not himself wise cannot be wisely advised. He meant that you cannot teach a person who believes they are already omniscient. You observe this person making identical mistakes repeatedly. They choose destructive partners. They invest in obvious scams. They initiate conflicts they cannot win. You, with your good heart and your clear perception, you see the cliff they're walking toward. You run to them. You say, "Stop. Look at the evidence. Look at the data. You are going to fall." And what do? Do they thank you? Number. They smear. They argue. They debate. They tell you that you don't understand. They construct elaborate mental gymnastics to prove that the sky is green and the ground is made of clouds. Why waste your breath? Understand this ruthless lesson. You cannot use logic to extract a person from a position they didn't use logic to enter. The arrogant fool doesn't want truth. They want validation. And when you offer them truth, they perceive it as an attack on their ego. By trying to save them from their ignorance, you become their enemy. You become the personification of the reality they're trying to deny. So they will attack you. They will call you condescending. They will mock your intelligence. They will drag you into endless circular arguments that drain your spirit and leave you exhausted. And the worst part? When they finally fall off that cliff, and they will fall, they will not learn. They will blame the wind. They will blame the shoes. They will blame you for distracting them. Stop trying to be the teacher to those who have no desire to be students. It is arrogance on your part to think you can force wisdom into a closed mind. Niccolo Machiavelli suggests a colder approach: silence. Let reality be their teacher. Reality is a harsh tutor. It doesn't argue, it doesn't debate, it simply delivers consequences. When the arrogant fool speaks, don't correct them, don't debate them. Simply nod and say, "Interesting," and then step back. Watch the crash from a safe distance. Protect your intellect. Don't dull your blade trying to cut through stone. Save your wisdom for those who ask for it, for those who have the humility to say, "I don't know, help me understand." The arrogant fool must be left to the mercy of the world. It is the only force strong enough to break their shell. Archetype 6, the Scorpion. And now the final archetype, the one that breaks the hearts of the most loyal people, the history repeater. The Scorpion. There is an ancient fable. A scorpion asks a frog to carry him across a river. The frog says, "No, you will sting me and I will die." The scorpion says, "Why would I do that? Then we would both drown." The frog agrees, seeing the logic. Halfway across the river, the scorpion stings the frog. As they both sink beneath the water, the frog gasps, "Why?" The scorpion replies, "It is my nature." There are people in this world whose nature is to betray, whose nature is to destroy. This is archetype 6. The person you have forgiven 1,000 times. They cheat on you. You forgive them. They steal from you. You forgive them. They lie to your face. You forgive them. Why? Because they cry. Because they promise. "I've changed," they say. "I swear to God, this is the last time. I am going to therapy. I am going to church. I am different now." and you want to believe them. You want to believe in redemption. You want to be the saint who saved the sinner. But Niccolo Machiavelli warns, men nearly always follow the beaten path of others and proceed in their actions by imitation. Behavior is a pattern. Character is a pattern. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. When you save the scorpion from the consequences of their sting, you are not helping them evolve. You are interfering with their data. You are teaching them that they can sting and still survive. You are training them to hurt you. Every time you take them back, you lose a piece of your self-respect, and they respect you less too. How can they respect someone who treats themselves so poorly? They view your forgiveness not as mercy, but as permission. If they took me back after I did X, they will take me back after I do Y. You are looking for the good in them, but you are ignoring the shadow that is consuming them. Niccolo Machiavelli advised princes to be wary of those who have betrayed others, for they will inevitably betray you. Loyalty is not a decision, it is a habit. Betrayal is not a mistake, it is a habit. If you are dealing with a repeater, you must perform the hardest act of all, the amputation. You cannot taper off. You cannot be friends from a distance. You must cut it off completely, irrevocably. It will hurt. It will feel like you are cutting off your own arm, but that arm is gangrenous. If you keep it, the poison reaches your heart and you die. The scorpion cannot be saved. It can only be avoided. Accept their nature. Believe them the first time they show you who they are. Stop projecting your conscience onto a predator. The 6 faces of destruction. Now you see them. The 6 faces of destruction. The chaos engineer, the bottomless void, the smiling saboteur, the professional victim, the arrogant fool. You see them in your phone contacts. You see them at your dinner table. And now you feel a heaviness because you realize that to follow this path, you must make choices that will make you appear bad in the eyes of the weak. You will be called Machiavellian. Good. Wear those titles like armor. Because what they call selfishness, the wise call self-preservation. What they call coldness, the wise call clarity. From savior to sovereign, you must transition from the savior to the sovereign. A savior sacrifices himself to light a fire for others, burning until he is ash. A sovereign builds a lighthouse. He stands tall. He shines a light, but he does not jump into the waves. Those who want to be saved will swim to the light. Those who want to drown will drown in the dark. But the lighthouse remains. This is the ultimate lesson. You are not responsible for the souls of other people. You are responsible for the vessel that carries your own. When you stop trying to save the unsavable, a strange thing happens. You reclaim your energy. You reclaim your time. Your anxiety vanishes. Your finances improve. Your health returns. You begin to build an empire of your own peace. And in that peace you find the strength to help the few who actually deserve it, the ones who take your advice, the ones who return your loyalty, the ones who grow when you water them. That is true power, not the power to endure suffering, but the power to choose who is worthy of your time. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Let the world see a calm, untouched surface. Let them think what they want. But deep down, know that you have mastered the hardest art of all. The art of letting go. The final mirror. But be careful. As you cut these people away, as you rise in power and silence, you will face a final enemy, the most dangerous one of all. Because once the parasites are gone, you will be left alone in the room. And you will have to look in the mirror, and you might realize that the person you were trying to save all this time was simply a projection of the part of yourself you haven't healed yet. What if the weakness isn't just out there? What if it's in you? That is a shadow for another time.